The night sky above the alien world burned with strange colors. Streaks of violet and deep crimson danced like fire across the horizon. The human explorer, Daniel, stood at the edge of a rocky cliff, his breathing heavy as he scanned the land before him. He had traveled light years for this mission. Yet he never imagined what he would face on this dangerous planet. The air was thin, the ground rough, and the silence carried a weight that made his heart beat faster. But then the silence broke. A sound echoed, heavy steps like iron striking. Stone, Daniel turned, and his eyes widened. From the shadows walked a tall figure, armored in plates that shimmered faintly under the alien moons. She was not like any creature he had seen. She was powerful, her posture strong. Her presence overwhelming. Her eyes glowed like molten amber, and in her hand she carried a weapon larger than Daniel himself. She was a warrior, and she was staring straight at him. For a moment, neither moved. The wind whipped between them, carrying dust and sparks from the volcanic land. Daniel's instinct screamed at him to run, but something inside him refused. He held his ground. His lips curved into a faint smile. "You must be the mighty warrior of this land," Daniel said, his voice steady, though his chest felt tight. "But tell me, does all that armor hide more than just your strength? Maybe it hides fear too." The warrior froze, her eyes narrowed. Her fingers tightened around her weapon. No one had ever spoken to her like that before, not even her own kind. She had expected the human to tremble, to beg for mercy, but instead. His words cut through her pride like a blade. Her heart raced, and to her shock, her face grew warm, her cheeks darkened, a blush spreading across her alien skin. She quickly turned her head to hide it. But Daniel saw. His smile widened. "Did I just make you blush?" he said softly, his tone teasing. Her pride burned hotter than fire. She stepped forward, the ground shaking under her weight. Silence, human. She growled, her voice like thunder. Her weapon swung fast, striking the stone near Daniel's feet. The force cracked the ground, dust exploded into the air. Daniel stumbled back, but laughter escaped his lips. "Stronger than steel," he whispered, "but still." "You blush," her chest tightened, fury clashing with confusion. Never had anyone dared mock her. Never had anyone noticed her weakness. Her people considered blush a shame, a flaw of the body. To reveal it was dishonor. Yet here stood a fragile human, smiling at her as if he had uncovered her greatest secret. She lifted her weapon again, this time aiming at him. Daniel braced himself. He knew he could not outrun her, not outfight her. Yet something inside told him to keep speaking. "If you want to kill me," he said, his voice calm, "then do it. But know this. Strength is not only in weapons, it is in the heart too." Her hands trembled for a brief second. Her amber eyes locked on his. She wanted to crush him, to silence his bold tongue, but deep inside, another voice whispered, the human's courage stirred something she could not name. With a roar, she swung. The weapon struck Daniel across the chest. Pain exploded through his body. He fell to the ground, breathless, his ribs aching like fire. But as he struggled to rise, he smiled again. "That hurts more than steel," he gasped. "But still, you blush." Her eyes widened, her heart pounded. Why did he not break? Why did he keep smiling? The warrior stood over him, her weapon raised high, but instead of striking again, she hesitated. Her breath came sharp, heavy, and her cheeks glowed brighter than before. Daniel forced himself up on one knee. His body shook, his vision blurred. But he would not let her see weakness. He met her blazing eyes and said, "You are strong. Stronger than anything I've seen. But strength with no heart is only emptiness." The warrior's weapon shook in her grip. Her mind raged, Part of her demanded she finish him. Another part wanted to know why this human spoke as if he knew her, why his words pierced deeper than blades. She took one step back, uncertain. Daniel's chest burned with pain, but his grin remained. You can. Strike me again, he whispered, but remember, no armor can hide the truth of who you are. The silence stretched between them once more, heavy and sharp. The alien warrior lowered her weapon slightly, her face still burning red. She had met many enemies in her life, but never one like this. Human, never one who dared to see beyond her armor. The encounter was far from over. Their story had only begun. The night wind carried dust across the broken land. Daniel stood, his chest still aching from the warrior's strike. His body screamed. In pain, yet his smile remained. The alien warrior narrowed her eyes, confused by the strange human. No one had ever survived her blow without falling cold. No one had ever smiled after tasting her strength. But this human, weak in body and fragile in flesh, still dared to stand. His courage was unsettling, almost insulting. She stepped closer, her shadow falling over him like a mountain. Why do you laugh at pain, human? She demanded. Her voice a storm. Do you not fear death? Daniel wiped the blood from his lip. His eyes glinted with stubborn fire. Of course, I fear death, he said softly. But I fear wasting my life more. If I die? I wanted to mean something. Her grip tightened on her weapon. The words struck her like arrows. This human was not like others she had fought. He did not fight only with muscle or steel. He fought with something deeper, something she could not name. You test my patience, she growled. You mock me with your tongue. Do you think words can save you? Daniel chuckled, his voice rough but steady. Maybe not. But words can wound deeper than blades, he answered. His gaze swept over her proud stance. And I think my words wounded you already. Her cheeks burned, the heat of blush betraying her once again. She cursed under her breath and turned away. She could not let him see her weakness. Not again, but the human's voice followed her like an echo. Fight me, he called out. His tone was not of fear, but of challenge. The warrior froze, her back stiff. Slowly she turned, her eyes wide with disbelief. You, she hissed. Challenge me. A human dares to challenge a warrior of my people. Daniel's smile sharpened. Why not, he said. You strike like steel, but I'm not made of glass. Let me prove that strength is not only in weapons. The warrior's heart pounded with anger and curiosity. A challenge from a human was unthinkable, yet something in her chest longed to accept. His boldness lit a fire she could not ignore. Very well, she said coldly. If you wish to die in battle, I shall grant you this honor. Meet me at dawn. At the circle of stones, there you will see what it means to face true strength. Daniel nodded, ignoring the ache in his ribs. At dawn, he whispered. I'll be there. The sky bled crimson as the alien sun rose. Shadows stretched across the circle of black stones. The air was thick with tension. Daniel stood at the center, his body sore, but his spirit burning. The warrior appeared from the mists, her armor gleaming, her weapon glowing faintly with power. She looked at him with sharp eyes, searching for fear. But Daniel's stance was steady, his fists clenched, his breathing slow. He had no sword, no armor, only his will. You are foolish, she said, raising her weapon, but perhaps brave. Her words carried no mockery, only a strange respect. The duel began. Her weapons struck fast. Daniel dodged, the wind of her swing cutting his skin. He rolled across the stones and rose quickly. His heart thundered. Every strike she made could end him. But he refused to fall. Again and again she swung, her strength unmatched. Yet Daniel used speed. weaving between her attacks. Each time she missed, her frustration grew. And yet, deep inside, she felt excitement. For the first time in her life. A fight was not predictable. Daniel's lungs burned. His body screamed. Still, he pushed forward. He rushed close. Landing a weak punch against her armor, it did no damage. But the courage behind it made her blink. "Is that all?" she mocked, though her voice trembled. "No," Daniel gasped. "That is only the start." He struck again, not with fists, but with words. "You are strong, yes, but your heart trembles every time I look at you." Her face flushed scarlet. Her strikes grew wilder. His words cut deeper than his blows. She hated that he saw what others never dared to see. The clash went on, dust rising, stone breaking. Daniel fell more than once, yet he always rose again. Each time he smiled, each time he spoke, his spirit refused to bow. Finally, she stopped, her chest heaving, her weapon lowered slightly. Sweat glistened across her brow, her amber eyes locked on him. "Why?" she whispered. Her voice raw. "Why do you not fall? Why do you not fear me?" Daniel staggered but stood tall. "Because fear is not stronger than will," he said. "And you, warrior? You are more than steel. You are flesh, you are fire, and you are heart. That is why you blush. And that is why you hesitate." Her breath caught, her hands trembled. She could not strike. For the first time in her life, she faced an opponent. She could not understand. Her pride told her to crush him. But her heart told her to listen. The stones were silent. The dawn burned brighter. The challenge had not ended, but already it had changed them both. She saw him not as prey, but as something far more dangerous, something that could touch her soul. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the circle of stones. Daniel's body was battered, his breath ragged, but still he stood. The alien warrior lowered her weapon for the first time. Her amber eyes fixed on him with something she could not name. This human should have been broken. His bones should have cracked, his spirit shattered. Yet every time she struck him down, he rose again. He fought not with strength of muscle, but with something else, a fire that would not die. "Why do you stand?" she asked, her voice sharp but shaken. "What drives you to rise when even beasts of this world would crawl away?" Daniel wiped the sweat from his brow, his lips curved into a tired grin. "Because falling without trying is worse than dying," he said. "And I want you to see that humans are more than fragile bodies." Her chest tightened. The words lingered in her mind. She had been raised to believe only power gave worth. Only victory gave honor. But this human fought with weakness, and somehow turned it into strength. She turned away, hiding her face. Her skin still burned with the strange heat of blush. She hated it, hated how his bold words made her heart stir. She struck the ground with her weapon, shattering a stone. "Enough," she growled. "You will train with me until you break. If you wish to prove your worth, you must face me every day." Daniel coughed, pain still burning in his chest. "But..." His smile grew. "Training with you," he whispered, "sounds like death. But also like living." The days that followed were filled with battle. From dawn until dusk, the warrior pushed him beyond his limits. Her strikes were merciless. Her voice thundered with commands. She demanded perfection. Yet every time Daniel fell, he pulled himself up again. At first, she believed he would shatter within hours. But as the days stretched, she began to see something she could not deny. His movements grew sharper, his endurance longer, his will unbroken. He was still weaker than her, still fragile, but he adapted. He endured. One evening, as the alien sky burned red, they stood across from each other, both breathing heavily, both covered in dust and sweat. Daniel raised his fists again, his grin playful, even in pain. "Still standing," he said. "Guess I'm harder to kill than you thought." Her eyes narrowed. But a flicker of warmth crossed them. Her lips parted, as if to speak, but instead she lunged forward. Her strike fast and fierce. Daniel dodged, barely escaping. He stumbled, laughed, and shouted, too slow. The warrior froze. Her cheeks warmed once again, his teasing tone. His fearless grin disarmed her more than his fists ever could. She turned quickly, masking her blush behind anger. "Do not mock me, human," she snapped, yet her voice wavered. Daniel tilted his head. "Why not?" he said softly. "It makes you look alive." Her heart stumbled. The words cut deep. For years, she had been taught to hide her feelings, to bury them under armor and duty. But this human saw them, spoke of them as if they were not shame, but truth. Fury boiled within her. She attacked harder. Each strike came faster, heavier. Daniel struggled to keep up. She wanted to crush this feeling, to bury it with violence. Her weapon slammed against the stones, her roar echoing. Daniel barely rolled aside, dust covering his body, but then she stopped. Her weapon hovered just above his chest. A single push and his life would be gone. Her hands trembled, her breath came heavy, and her face, despite her rage, was crimson with blush. Daniel lay beneath her shadow, his chest rising and falling. He looked up at her with tired but steady eyes. "You almost killed me," he whispered. "But you didn't. Why?" Her grip faltered. The warrior's eyes widened. For the first time, she questioned herself. She had no answer. Her heart raged, her mind burned. She wanted to believe it was weakness, but deep inside, she knew it was something else. She stepped back, her weapon falling to her side. Her voice cracked with frustration. "You? You make me hesitate," she growled. "No enemy has ever done this." "What are you?" Daniel slowly sat up, his smile faint but unbroken. "Just human," he said softly. "But maybe that's enough." The silence between them grew heavy. Her chest heaved, her heart pounded. She hated him for breaking her focus. Yet she could not bring herself to strike again. She turned away, hiding her face in the shadows. That night, while Daniel rested, the warrior stood alone beneath the alien. Moons, her thoughts stormed within her. She should kill him. She should crush this weakness before it spread. Yet every time she closed her eyes, she saw his grin, heard his words, felt the warmth in her cheeks. She clenched her fists. "This bond is dangerous," she whispered to the wind, "yet I cannot break it." The bond of conflict had begun, forged not by trust, but by battle and blood. The warrior tried to push him away with violence, yet his spirit only pulled her closer. Neither fully understood it. But both knew their story was only beginning. Asterisk, the moons hung low above the alien sky, their silver light spilling across the training ground of black stones. Daniel sat by a small fire, his body bruised and sore from days of sparring, yet his spirit still burned, stronger than before. The warrior stood some distance away, her weapon planted in the earth. She watched him silently, her heart restless. She had fought beasts larger than ships, crushed rivals with single blows, yet none of them left her shaken like this human. Daniel glanced up, noticing her shadow lingering near. "You keep staring," he said softly, a smile tugging at his lips. "Are you worried I might run away?" She scoffed, but her voice lacked its usual thunder. "You would not survive alone out here," she said. "That is the only reason I keep watch." Daniel tilted his head, his grin deepening. "Is that the only reason?" Her cheeks warmed. She turned away, refusing to answer. His words cut too close. He saw too much, more than he should, for a while. Silence stretched between them. Only the crackle of the fire and the distant howl of alien beasts filled the night. Finally, Daniel spoke again, his tone gentle. Why do you hide it?" She froze. Her hand clenched the hilt of her weapon. "Hide what?" she snapped, her voice sharp with warning. The blush, Daniel whispered, his eyes steady on hers. "You act like it's a curse. But it's not weakness. It means you feel. That's what makes you alive." Her chest tightened. Shame washed over her face. She had never told anyone the truth. Her people believed emotion was poison. Warriors were meant to be cold. Unshaken, unbending, blushing was seen as flaw. A mark of weakness that could destroy honor. "You do not understand," she growled, though her voice wavered. "Among my kind, to blush is to be broken. If the council ever saw me this way, they would strip my rank. They would exile me." Daniel's smile faded into something softer. His eyes burned with quiet fire. "Then your people are blind," he said. "They worship steel and strength, but forget the heart. Strength without feeling is emptiness. And you are more than steel." Her breath caught. His words felt heavier than any strike. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had dared to call her more. For a moment, she wanted to believe him. But fear coiled around her heart. "You should not speak such things," she whispered, her hands trembling. "You put me at risk. You put yourself at risk." Daniel leaned forward, ignoring the pain in his body. "I don't care about risk," he said firmly. "I care about truth, and the truth is, you are stronger because you feel, not weaker." Her amber eyes glistened with something she did not want to show. She turned her face to the shadows. "Your words are dangerous, human," she murmured. "They make me hesitate," he chuckled weakly. "Then maybe hesitation is not always bad." The conversation ended abruptly when the ground shook. A deep rumble echoed through the valley. Dust fell from the cliffs. The warrior stiffened, her senses sharp. "They are coming," she hissed. Daniel rose quickly, ignoring the ache in his ribs. "Who?" he asked, from the darkness. Figures emerged. Armored like her but colder, their weapons glowed with the same deadly light. They were her people, but not allies. Their eyes burned with judgment. "You have been seen." One of them called, his voice cruel. "You show weakness. You train. Beside prey, you dishonor the code." The warrior's heart dropped. Daniel saw the way her hands tightened, the way her chest rose and fell. He understood these were her hunters. "Her judges, leave now," she whispered sharply to Daniel. "If they find you with me, they will kill you." Daniel shook his head, his jaw set. "I'm not leaving you. Not now." Her eyes widened. She wanted to push him away. But his fire held her in place for the first time. She felt fear, not for herself, but for someone else. The warriors advanced. Weapons raised, their voices cold. "You are no longer one of us," they declared. "Your honor is broken. Your place is gone." The warrior lifted her weapon, her stance strong, but inside her heart twisted. If she fought them, she would become an exile forever. If she surrendered, Daniel would be slain. Daniel stepped forward. Placing himself between her and the others, his voice rang clear. "If she is dishonored because she feels, then maybe honor is a lie." The enemy warriors snarled. One lifted his blade, but Daniel did not flinch. He stood tall, though fragile, daring them to strike. The warrior's heart raced. His courage made her breath catch. She could not let him fall. Not because of her. With a roar, she stepped beside him, her weapon glowing like fire. "If I must be exile," she shouted, "then I will fight as one." The enemy warriors charged, steel clashed, sparks flew. Daniel and the warrior stood side by side, united not by law, but by choice. The night shook with the sound of steel clashing against stone. Sparks flew as the warrior's weapon met the blades of her kin. Daniel stood at her side, his chest heaving, his fists clenched. He had no armor, no glowing sword, Yet he refused. To step back, the enemy warriors circled them, their eyes filled with cold judgment. "You fight beside prey," one sneered. "You betray your blood. You betray the code." The alien warrior's amber eyes blazed with fury. "If honor means killing those who stand with courage, then I no longer need your code," she roared. Her weapon spun with deadly grace. Striking one attacker and sending him sprawling, Daniel ducked as another blade slashed toward him. He grabbed a jagged rock from the ground and swung it with all his strength. The rock shattered against the enemy's armor, doing little damage. But the force made the warrior stumble. It gave Daniel a chance to shove him back. "You are mad," one of the enemies shouted. "To fight with him is to fight against your people," the warrior growled, her weapon flashing. Then, so be it. The battle raged. Dust rose around them, the circle of stones trembling beneath the weight of their fight. Daniel moved as quickly as his battered body allowed, dodging, striking, distracting. Each time he stumbled, the warrior's weapon was there. Cutting down those who tried to end him, for the first time in her life, she fought not for victory, not for glory, but to protect someone else. Every strike she made was fierce. Not to prove herself, but to keep Daniel alive. Her heart thundered with each breath. Daniel gasped as he narrowly avoided another slash. His body screamed in pain, but his eyes glowed with fire. "You fight like fire itself," he shouted to her, "but I see something stronger than fire. You fight for me." Her cheeks burned, even as her blade cut through another foe. "Be silent, human," she growled. Though her voice trembled, their enemies pressed harder. Their numbers were greater. Slowly, they were pushed back against the stones. Daniel's arms ached, his vision blurred. The warrior's strikes grew slower, her breaths heavier. One enemy warrior lunged. His blade aimed straight for Daniel's chest. The human had no time to dodge, no time to block. But in that instant, the alien warrior leaped between them. Her weapon clashed with the blade, sparks raining. The strike forced her to her knees. Daniel caught her before she fell, his eyes wide with shock. "You saved me," he whispered. Her heart raced, her face burned with crimson heat. "Do not make me regret it," she muttered, but her hands shook as she rose again. The enemy warriors paused, their leader stepping forward. His armor was darker, his weapon sharper. His voice thundered like stone breaking. "You disgrace us all," he bellowed. "You choose weakness, you choose shame, and for that, you will die with him." The warrior raised her head, her amber eyes burning bright. She stood beside Daniel, their shoulders nearly touching. Her voice rang across the stones. "I do not fight with weakness," she shouted. "I fight with heart, and if that is shame, then I welcome it." Daniel's chest swelled. His hand gripped hers for just a moment. Rough human skin against cold alien armor. "Then we fight together," he said. The leader roared and charged. The battle that followed shook the stones themselves. His strikes were like thunder. His strength unmatched, Daniel was thrown to the ground, his body reeling. The warrior fought fiercely. But even she began to falter. At the edge of defeat, Daniel rose again, staggering. His voice tore through the chaos. "You will not take her honor," he shouted. "Not while I live." The leader's blade swung toward him. Daniel had no weapon, no shield, but he stood his ground, ready to take the blow. The warrior's heart stopped. In that moment, she saw him not as fragile, not as prey, but as something greater, something unbreakable, with a roar that shook the night. She struck with all her strength. Her weapon clashed against the leader's blade. Sparks exploding, the ground split beneath their feet. With one final strike, she shattered his weapon. The leader fell to his knees, defeated. The other warriors stepped back in shock. None dared move, none dared speak. The circle grew silent. Only the sound of heavy breathing remained. Daniel leaned against her, his body nearly giving out. "Stronger than steel," he whispered with a faint grin. "But still, you blush." Her face turned scarlet, her chest heaved. For a heartbeat, she wanted to strike him again. But instead, she looked at him and saw something she had never seen before. Trust. The enemy warriors did not attack again. Instead, they withdrew, dragging their broken leader with them, but their eyes promised one thing: the council would hear of this. Judgment would come. Daniel collapsed to the ground. Exhausted but alive, the warrior knelt beside him. Her hand brushed his shoulder, rough but gentle. "You are reckless," she muttered, "yet you fought at my side as if you were born for it." Daniel chuckled weakly. "Then maybe I was," he whispered, his eyes closing. The warrior looked at him, her cheeks still burning. Her people would call her dishonored, but for the first time, she did not feel shame. She felt alive. Together, they had faced death, and together they had won side by side. The night after the battle was restless. The warrior did not sleep. She stood watch while Daniel lay weak by the fire. His wounds were many, yet his spirit still flickered bright, even in dreams. She looked at him and felt the storm within her heart. By dawn, the council had already learned of her crime. Betrayal, they called it. To fight beside prey, to protect a human, was the deepest dishonor. Word spread quickly, and soon armored guards came. Their weapons gleamed as they surrounded the circle of stones. The warrior did not flinch. She rose tall, her weapon in hand. Daniel struggled to stand. Still pale but unwilling to hide, the guards parted, and from the shadows came the elder council. Towering figures draped in ancient robes. Their eyes were colder than steel. "You have broken our code," one elder declared. "You chose weakness over duty. You bled beside prey. You showed your shame to the world." The warrior's jaw tightened. She lowered her head but did not kneel. "I fought with courage. I fought with truth." She said, "If that is shame, then so be it." The council's voices echoed in unison. "You are stripped of honor. You will face the trial of honor. Prove your strength or be destroyed." Daniel stepped forward, his legs trembling, but his voice steady. "If she must face a trial, then I will stand with her." The guards laughed, their voices cruel. "You, a human, cannot survive the trial." One scoffed. Daniel's eyes burned. "Maybe not," he said, "but I will not abandon her." The warrior's chest tightened. Her heart raced. She wanted to push him away, to protect him from the path ahead, but when she looked at his face, bruised and bloodied, yet filled with fire, she knew he would not leave. Not now, not ever. The trial of honor was set at the great arena, carved into the mountains. Thousands of warriors gathered to witness. Their chants thundered through the stone. They wanted blood. They wanted judgment. At the center of the arena stood the warrior, her weapon glowing faintly. Beside her was Daniel. No armor, no blade, only his will. The council loomed above, their golden eyes watching like hawks. A voice boomed across the arena. "Face the trial, prove your worth, or perish as the dishonored." The gates opened, from the shadows emerged 3 monstrous beasts, armored with scales, their jaws dripping with fire. They were creatures bred for destruction. Enemies even seasoned warriors feared. The crowd roared with approval. Daniel's heart pounded. His hands trembled. He had faced blades, he had faced warriors, but never monsters like these. Still, he glanced at her. And when he saw her steady stance, his fear turned to fire. Side by side, he whispered. She looked at him, her cheeks warming despite the chaos. Side by side, she answered. The beasts charged. Their roars split the air. The ground quaked with each step. The warrior struck first, her weapon cleaving into the nearest beast. Sparks and blood flew. Daniel darted to the side, drawing its attention with shouts and stones. The crowd jeered. "The human is nothing," they cried. "He will fall." But Daniel did not fall. He dodged, he pushed, he distracted, giving her openings she never expected. Together they moved as if bound by instinct, her blade cut. His courage filled the gaps, her strength could not. One beast pinned Daniel to the ground, its jaw snapping. The warrior's heart froze. With a roar, she leaped forward, her blade plunging deep into its throat. Blood sprayed. The beast fell dead. Daniel gasped for air, his eyes wide. "You saved me again," he whispered. Her cheeks flushed crimson. "Do not make me repeat it." She muttered, pulling him up. The second beast lunged, fire spewing from its jaws. Daniel shoved her aside, the flames scorching his arm. Pain ripped through him, but he stood tall. His voice rang out, "You will not take her." The warrior's eyes widened. For a moment, she forgot the trial, forgot the crowd. All she saw was him standing broken, yet unyielding. Her chest ached with something she could no longer deny. With a roar that shook the arena, she cut the beast in two. Sparks showered the ground. The crowd fell silent, stunned. The final beast remained, larger and stronger than the rest. It circled them, its eyes glowing with hunger. Daniel's legs wavered, but he lifted a broken spear he had found. His voice was hoarse. Together, her hand brushed his briefly. "Armor against skin." "Together," she whispered. They charged, her weapons struck with fury. His spear drove forward with desperate strength. The beast screamed, its massive body thrashing, but they did not let go. They fought as one, their voices, their hearts, their wills bound. At last, the beast collapsed, its roar fading into silence. The arena trembled. The trial was done. The crowd was stunned. Some shouted in anger, others in awe. The council stood, their faces unreadable. One elder's voice thundered, "You broke the code, yet you triumphed. You are no longer bound by our law. You are exile, but you live." The warrior lowered her weapon, her breath heavy, her cheeks burned. She looked at Daniel, his body barely standing, his face pale. But when their eyes met, she saw only pride. For the first time, she was free not by law, not by code, but by choice. And for the first time, she no longer felt shame for her blush. The arena lay silent after the last beast had fallen. Smoke curled from the scorched ground. The stench of blood heavy in the air. The warrior stood tall, her chest rising and falling with each heavy breath. Beside her, Daniel leaned on the broken spear, his body battered but his spirit still burning. The council loomed above, their golden eyes cold and sharp. "You triumphed." One elder thundered, "But you have broken the code. You are exile, your name stripped, your honor gone." The crowd roared in anger and disbelief. Some shouted for blood, others for mercy. The warrior's heart pounded. She knew what came next. She would be hunted forever. She would be cast out from her people. Yet when she looked at Daniel, standing bloody and smiling, she felt no regret. Daniel's voice, hoarse but steady, rose through the chaos. "If exile is the price for feeling, then maybe exile is freedom," he said, his eyes locked on hers. And for the first time, she did not look away. The elders raised their hands, calling for silence. Their voices thundered again. "Your life is spared, but your ties to us are cut. You are nothing now, warrior without clan, heart without honor." The warrior lifted her chin. Her amber eyes burned bright. "I am not nothing," she said. "I am more than your chains, more than your cold laws. If I must be exile, I will walk that path with strength." The crowd erupted in shouts. Some cursed her, others whispered in awe. Never before had a warrior spoken such words. Never before had one stood against the council itself. Daniel stepped closer, his hand brushing against hers. His touch was rough, trembling with pain, but it steadied her heart. "You are not alone," he whispered. Her cheeks warmed, the crimson, blush spreading across her face, and this time she did not turn away. She let it burn bright for all to see. Guards moved to drag them from the arena, but before they could, a rival warrior stepped forward. His armor gleamed black, his eyes sharp with fury. "If the council will not end you, then I will," he shouted. His weapon crackled with deadly energy. The crowd fell silent, all eyes fixed on the clash about to unfold. Daniel tightened his grip on the broken spear. Though he could barely stand, the warrior raised her weapon, her heart steady. The rival charged. His strikes were vicious, each one meant to kill. The warrior met him head-on, sparks exploding as their weapons clashed. Daniel stumbled forward, striking with the broken spear whenever he could. His body weak, but his will unbroken. The duel was fierce. The rival was faster, his rage making him strong. But the warrior was no longer fighting alone. With every strike, she felt Daniel's presence at her side, his voice echoing in her heart, side by side, at last. The rival raised his weapon high for a killing blow. Daniel, without thought, threw himself between them. The blade slashed across his arm, blood spilling. He cried out, but did not fall. "You will not take her," he gasped. The warrior's eyes widened, her heart thundered. Seeing him bleed for her broke the last chain within her. With a roar that shook the mountains, she struck. Her weapon smashed through the rival's blade, then through his armor. The rival fell to the ground. Defeated, the arena erupted. Gasps, shouts, and whispers filled the air. The warrior stood over Daniel, her weapon raised, her cheeks crimson for the first time. She did not hide it. She let the blush blaze like fire. Daniel looked up at her, his breath ragged, but his grin unbroken. "Stronger than steel," he whispered. "But still, you blush." Her lips trembled. For a moment, she almost struck him again, but instead, she dropped her weapon. She knelt beside him, her hand pressing against his wound. "Foolish human," she whispered, her voice soft and breaking. "You risked your life for me." Daniel's eyes met hers, his voice weak but clear. "Because you are worth it." Her heart shattered and rebuilt in that instant. All her life she had fought for honor, for law, for pride. Yet none of it meant as much as this human's fire. None of it meant as much as the truth burning in her chest. She turned her face to the council, her voice strong. "I am exile, I am dishonor, but I will no longer be ashamed. This human has shown me that heart is stronger than steel, stronger than fear, stronger than shame." The crowd roared, some in fury, some in awe. The council said nothing. Their silence was answer enough. The warrior lifted Daniel into her arms. His body was broken, but his spirit blazed as she carried him out of the arena. Her people watched in silence. None dared move, none dared strike. For the first time in her life, she walked without chains. She was no longer bound by law or shame. She was free, and by her side was the human who had given her that freedom. Her blush burned bright, not as weakness, not as dishonor, but as truth. The warrior alien was no longer ashamed of her heart.